Welcome to Soul Centered. My name is Ariela and Rabbi B. Hi, welcome to Soul Centered. My name is Ariela and Rabbi B. And for those of you that are joining us now, we're a little late to the Soul Experience. We've had some technical difficulties. But if you are tuning in, we'd like to welcome you and say Shabbat Shalom. And just a little recap of who we are. We are a center both in Denver and virtually for loss, meaning, and healing. And we are really here for you in many different forms, which we will get into today. But ultimately, this is an experience today. The soul experience is based deeply in Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, but it is really open to all people of all faiths, religions, non-religions, anybody that has the desire to center their souls and to find comfort, support, and an open heart during especially a difficult time. So, for example, we all come to our heart and our soul in different ways. And this is just one path, just as if you were in a yoga studio and you would hear Sanskrit, and it may not have been your path, but you still find that centered soul within yoga. And so we just invite you in and we welcome you and we say Shabbat Shalom as we start to explore our center, our soul, and we start to release the past week and bring in a new week. And our intention this morning, our Kavanah intention this morning, is to open to the 49 days between Passover and Shavuot. So what does that mean? If you follow the Jewish calendar, or even if you don't, springtime and Passover is a time of renewal, a time of rebirth, and a time of detoxing, if you will, of letting go of the old and the things that do not serve us and bringing in the new. And so Passover is this experience of freedom. But if we're honest, it doesn't just happen because we have a Seder. It happens because as we transition from Passover to the receiving of the Torah, which ultimately means to receiving our divine self fully, is we take 49 days and we do something called counting the Omer, which is a literal counting of our attributes, of our midot, which means our the way we are in the world. And so last week we discussed Gevura, which was strength and boundaries. The week before we discussed Chesed, which is loving kindness. And today we're going to have the Kavanah, the focus of Tiferet, which is really where we meet in the middle of balancing the two energies. It's literally in the heart center. And so our discussion and our prayers and our meditations will be on this focus of balance.
I'm the IT guy. Thank you for letting me sit in today. No shortage of technical challenges in this new world we live in, but we're good. We're here. Barb Hirsch-Giller's on, so really that's all that matters. Now we can get started. Barb, we've been waiting for you.
Hi, Barb.
20 minutes. We've been sitting. Just kidding. So, the nice thing, I guess, about virtual is you can tune in, tune out whenever works for you. And so we'll just get started. And so with that, we'll begin with just one word of welcome, of settling, of breathing, and equanimity, which is part of our conversation today. Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom. Shalom. Shalom. And just closing your eyes and coming in, taking a deep breath into your body, into your spirit, your soul, your heart. And as we enter into this next song, finding a sanctuary and finding the balance between the sanctuary of our physical bodies and the sanctuary of our souls, of our spirit. And really, ultimately, our purpose here on life is to discover and explore that equanimity between being a physical being on this earth and being a spiritual being, ultimately having a physical experience. And so we continue with Hine Matov, Lord, prepare me. Taking a deep breath in, you can close your eyes or you can tune into our soul sheet on our website or on our Facebook page. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. In Hebrew, Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true, and with thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Continue with modeh, modah, gratitude. It's the first words we're supposed to say when we wake up. Really just thinking about gratitude for everything. It isn't just the good things, right? It's also everything that presents itself. It's part of the life experience. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, to be grateful for everything, even more in the world, is this marvelous balance of beauty and disgust, magnificence and rats, right? And so it's about, Ralph Waldo Emerson reminds us, it's about kind of this finding of gratitude on both sides of the spectrum, and just gratitude for being alive and being present and being together. And we'll continue to talk about balancing that gratitude later on.
So we'll continue with Modeh, Modah, Ani, just finding thanks and gratitude for another breath, another day. Modeh Ani lefanecha ruach chai v'kayam 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 Modani Lefanecha Rachai Mekayam Modani Lefanecha Ruachai Mekayam. And taking a deep breath in, beginning to center your soul, allowing the week to release, allowing your body to come into its present moment awareness. So just really being here with what is and holding all of it. Rumi says, life is a balance between holding on and letting go. And so we just really find this intention this week in our lives, the balance between holding on to what we need to hold on to and releasing what needs to be released. So in order to live in equanimity, in peace, and finding the strength and the love in the middle. And we continue with our service with Elohai, just focusing on this pure soul that Hashem, that God gave us, and opening to the balance between, again, this earthly presence and the neshama, the soul. Hey ya, hey hey ya, hey 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 ya, hey ya, hey hey ya, hey 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 ya, hey oh Elohai, hey oh Elohai, neshama shenatata bi tehorai, hey oh Elohai, hey oh Elohai, neshama shenatata bi tehorai, hey ya, hey hey ya, hey 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 ya, hey ya, hey hey ya, hey 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 ya.
So as we continue to feel a flow, right, returning to us, Shabbat is really about synthesizing the weeks, creating a space between past and present, and really thinking about where we've come from this past week, where we're heading into the next week, and really kind of harmonizing that. And so Brich Rachamana is a chant. Everything's on a soul sheet if you don't know the words, and most even Jewish people don't know these words, let alone non-Jewish people. So everybody's welcome. If you like the words, you can just scroll down on the Facebook group or the Facebook page of Soul Centered, and you'll find the soul sheet somewhere on there. And Brich Rachamana, a very simple chant.
Brich Rachamana Malkei De'alma Mavre Dehai Neshima Brich Rachamana Malkei De'alma Mavre Dehai Neshima Brich Rachamana Malkei De'alma Mare Dehai Neshima Brich Rachamana Malkei De'alma Mare Dehai. You're the source of life. You are the source of life for all that is
and your blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me. Bricha chamana malkedeyama maredehai neshima. Bricha chamana malkedeyama maredehai neshima. You are the source of life for all that is,
and your
blessings flow through me. You are the source of life for all that is, and your blessings flow through me.
Yanai, So we take a deep breath and we again center our bodies, our hearts, and our souls, and we travel into a beautiful song, Olam Chesed, written by Rabbi Menachem Creditor. Just a beautiful song about starting with love in our hearts and bringing it out into the world. But love starts here and it travels out. So really sending our love and our prayers from our heart centers to the world. Olam Chesed Yibaneh Yedai Dai Dai Yedai Dai. 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 I will build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And you must build this world from love. Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. And if we build this world from love, yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai. Then God will build this world from love. Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh Yadadai, yadadai, yadadai. Olam Chesed Yibaneh Yadadai, dai, dai, yadadai, dai.
So as we continue, we think about strength and power, and today really kind of meditating on our theme of Tiferet in the Kabbalah, as Ariela mentioned at the beginning, which is harmony, and thinking about power not as coming from the extremes, but borrowing from both sides, right? We'll talk later about of Gevura and Chesed, of kind of giving and receiving, of doing and being, and finding in that balancing point a sense of strength that comes not from either or, but both and holding that center. And so Ozi, really a song, chant about strength, and it's on your soul sheet. If you don't have it, again, it's on the Facebook page or group.
Ozi vezimras yah vayehi lishua Ozi vezimratya vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayehili lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayehili lishua.
Again, whether you're new to soul-centered into this experience, whether you're Jewish, whether you're not Jewish, it doesn't matter. We take the ancient wisdom, principles, and traditions of Kabbalah, of Jewish mysticism, and make them accessible. And it says that the Hasidim Rishonim, the early mystics, used to sit for an hour and prepare to pray, prepare to open their hearts. And so that's what we do for this period of time every Saturday morning, is we just sit and we find ways to open our hearts. Everything we draw upon is coming from either the Psalms or the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, or other traditions, wisdom, texts, to really just open our hearts. So again, welcome to everybody, and I'm glad you have the courage and the ability to join us. So you're more than welcome here.
As we continue in our prayer, Am I awake? I really like what you said. It's really about preparing. Shabbat and soul centering is about preparing your heart and your mind and your spirit for when you need strength, for when you need to call out. And so it's hard to create a relationship with something greater than you when you are in the depths of despair. God forbid, coronavirus or something else. And so this whole idea of coming together as a community on Shabbat is to prepare your heart for the beautiful moments and the heartbreaking moments. And again, that equanimity, everything in between. And to hold the line between both is to prepare your center for when you need the strength. It's hard to cultivate that awareness and that depth of prayer when we don't have A, a community, and B, a center. And so as we continue with Am I Awake, I really invite you to ask yourself a question I've been asking myself all week. Am I awake? And am I awake to not only the inner communal prayer, like the inner community of what's going on inside of myself, the way that I connect, but also the spiritual community. And so I think we need to hold both lines. And so I invite you to prayer together, to pray together as a community now. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yana-nai-nai-nai, 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 yana-nai-nai-nai. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared?
can either just continue to find the words of your heart, or you can use the words of the ancient Israelites that we've been saying every day since the time of the ancient Israelites, the Shema. Words are on your page, but more importantly, words are in your heart.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. One word, Shema, as we chant. Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya, Shema, 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 Shemaya, Shema, Shema, Shemaya. As we travel into the Amidah, typically a silent prayer or fixed prayer, it doesn't matter what it is. The Amidah is a center for communal prayer. It's really a center inside of our community to pray with our hearts, to open our hearts to the divine, to the angels, to our ancestors. And so we take a moment and we just find our heart centers. And we breathe into this center of equanimity, of balance. And as we center our hearts, we focus our center on this Tiferet, on the center of our heart, to open to the idea that there is possibly something greater here than just what we see. And Kabbalists talk about this idea of the tree of life, centered inside of our bodies. And yes, we can't see that when we try and search for it with the physical eye. But I invite you to take a moment in our silent Amidah to imagine with your childlike imagination a beautiful tree of energy, of life flowing through us. And in the center of that is our kavanah, beauty, compassion, balance, equanimity, and allowing our heart centers to open wider than we're used to. Opening to the divine tree within us allows our roots to grow down into the earth and our branches to grow up into something greater than us at play. Our branches allow us to not only reach to God, to the divine, but also reach ourselves out like hands like arms to one another. And so taking a deep breath into your tree of life, and imagine reaching your hands, your arms out to possibly the one you're quarantining with, and then out virtually to the earth, the world, and all that's beyond us. Yananai nai 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 Adonai. Yananai nai 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 Svatai Tiftach. Yananai nai 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 Ufi Agi. Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Yananai nai 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 Adonai. Yananai nai 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 Svatai Tiftach. Yananai nai 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 Ufi Agi. Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Taking a moment in your silent Amidah, in your silent prayer and silent meditation. Oh, say shalom emrama. Uya say shalom aleinu. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'imru. Imru. Amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
So if you just joined us, welcome. Welcome to Samantha and Amy. Amy, you're like the most regular.
And your mom.
And your mom and your
Your
husband. Oh, my mom. Amy, is your mom watching? My aunt, Connie, Daria, Dave, Ari, Jack. Welcome, everybody. So, we really just try and create a meditative, contemplative experience on Saturday morning. We're not a synagogue. This is a healing center of meaning. And that's what we do now, is really get into meaning as a pathway to healing. Every week around the world, Jews reading from the Torah, the Hebrew Bible. And this week we're reading from like a painful section of it called Tazria Metzora, which is not something I want to get into. There's times when I'm glad the Torah is in Hebrew, so people don't really read it too closely. It's ancient wisdom, but it's ancient. And so we try and take the idea, though, of finding meaning in ancient wisdom texts, bring them to life. And right now what we're doing is we're journeying through the desert from Egypt to Israel thousands of years ago. We're mimicking, we're replicating the journey that the Israelites went on, because it's a journey we all go on. Every religion, human journey, from slavery to redemption, from Passover, as everybody knows, the holiday that we just passed, en route to Shavuot, the receiving of the Torah, of the Bible, called Pentecost by my Christian friends. And so from a Kabbalistic perspective, there's kind of a 7-week self-help journey, right? A journey that you go through to repair yourself. Before self-help was a thing, it was a thing. And so 7 weeks of 7, of course, 49 is a number of transformation. It's actually the exponential example of transformation, 7 times 7, 49. And so it's this creative process that you go through in the journey from slavery to liberation. And each week there's a different, as Ariela talked about, midah, quality, attribute, focus of this self or soul help work. And so we've gone through 2, and now we're in the 3rd week on the journey. The first one was chesed. Chesed is an outpouring of energy. You can rewatch the 2 weeks ago, we talked about it. It's a going forth. It's a masculine energy, not male, but masculine, like that arrow and that symbol going forward. Then the next week was gevura, which is the feminine symbol, and it's a returning, retreating, circling, right? The circle. And so these are 2 extremes, and we all have this in us and in life, and we need both of these to go out to the world, to give, to do, to share, to contribute, and to withdraw, to retreat, to circle the wagons. Both of them are necessary. Hi, Susan. Welcome, another regular. The challenge is that the universe and everything outside of us and in us doesn't live in extremes. The universe is always seeking homeostasis, equanimity, right? The central rhythm. And so really thinking about how can we take these extremes and not get rid of them, but harness them, synthesize them, bring them to a sustainable energy that we can live with. Chesed, outpouring of love, and gevura, limits and love. And that's this week, Tiferet, a harmony and a balance. And then I'm going to turn over to Ariela in a second, but I'm going to take a Buddhist teaching and kind of show this idea in real life, because I don't want it to be theoretical. I want it to be real. So this is my favorite teaching of any tradition. I've shared it many times. I'll share it many more because it's so important. It's called We'll See, and I'm sure many of you know We'll See. Once upon a time, there was a farmer in China. He didn't have a lot of money, and instead of a tractor, he used an old horse to plow his field. One afternoon, while working in the field, the horse dropped dead. Everyone in the village said, "What a horrible thing to happen. We're so sorry." The farmer simply said, "We'll see." He was so at peace and so calm that everyone in the village got together, admiring his attitude, gave him a new horse as a gift. Everyone's reaction was now, "What a lucky man." And the farmer said, "We'll see." A couple days later, the new horse jumped the fence, ran away. Everyone in the village shook their heads, said, "What a poor fellow." The farmer said, "We'll see." Eventually, the horse found its way home. And everyone again said, "What a lucky man." The farmer said, "We'll see." Later in the year, the farmer's young boy went out riding on that horse, fell, broke his leg. Everyone in the village said, "What a shame for the poor boy." The farmer said, "We'll see." 2 days later, the army came to the village to draft new recruits. But when they saw the farmer's son had broken his leg, they decided not to recruit him. Everyone said, "What a fortunate young man." The farmer said, "We'll see." It's actually like 100 chapters of this, so I don't want to be here till next Shabbat. But it's an important idea that's in all traditions. The Kabbalistic tradition, there's a man named Nachum Ish Gamzu, which means Nachum, that's a name, the man who always said Gamzu Letova, and that means this too is good. This too is from God. This too is part of Tov from the creation story. It's not that it's good, it's creative, and it's been given to me to do something with. Everything in it has creative, constructive capacity. The question is, can we approach it from this we'll see attitude?
When I think about this story and also the week coming up with Tiferet, I think about our forefathers. So I think about, Abraham is said to be, Abraham is said to be full of chesed, of loving kindness. He's always outpouring his loving kindness. He receives guests, constantly receiving guests inside of his tent with Sarah. And he's just the father of love. And so then we think of Isaac, another forefather, as the father of Gevura, always retreating, constantly pulling in, never really learning the quality of his father of outpouring love. And so then the balance there is Jacob. It symbolizes this balance between chesed and gevura, love and boundaries, love within limits, within the boundaries. It's important to have both. And really, if you think of Yisrael, and which is Jacob was renamed Yisrael after he struggled with God. And really, that is the human struggle. We're named, Israel is named, we are the people of Yisrael, not the people of Abraham, not the people of Isaac. And so we are the people that struggle because we're human beings, because that is our plot, not to struggle and not to have a struggle-filled life, but to find the struggle is to find the balance between chesed and gevurah. And how do you live, not, we say in Hebrew parv, like not to live vanilla, but to live in the special balance between loving somebody, but with the boundaries that you're not outpouring your love. And Jacob is really the forefather that taught us how to do that.
Well, otherwise you burn through either people or the situation. Abraham burns everybody out. Like, that's Abraham. He burns out his wife. There's so much struggle because he's, on the one hand, reaching out, but that story that you told about him and the angels, she's at home cooking and providing.
Right.
It was easy for him to stand at his tent and say, come in, but he didn't have to draw the boundaries of, so how do you now translate that into something sustainable? Isaac comes along, his son, and reacts to his father. Right? His father's so much to the point where, remember the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, he almost gave away his son in an act of giving to God.
Right.
And basically God says, I don't want you to go across this line. So Isaac, by definition, is the line. His whole life is defined by his father's eccentric giving. And so Isaac goes to the other extreme and wanders alone in the deserts to the point where he is isolated, levado, and he's lonely. And so you have, and these are archetypes. Did they happen? I don't know. I actually don't care. They're true, regardless of if they're factually true, historically true. They're paradigms that we all struggle with. This isn't other people. This is us. There's a piece of me that is too much give and give and give. And then there's other times a piece of me that's too much retreat. And so it's about finding the central balance that you're talking about in the middle between these extremes.
I think if you look at the Torah story as a archetype for living, I think it's really from like a psychological perspective. If you think about generational, like intergenerational trauma, wounds, and just personality and behaviors.
Careful, my mom and my aunt are on the call.
Love you, Jan and Aunt Connie. But if you think about the wounds and the behaviors and the things that are passed down from one generation to another, and you look at Isaac as somebody who reacted to his father, who was all about going, he thought nothing of his son and thought more of being out in the world. So then Isaac reacted, and it just continues this intergenerational behavior, and we carry the wounds of our generations.
Well, Amy Pregelman's on this. Hi, Amy, and it reminds me of the Holocaust. Amy has an amazing foundation that takes care of Holocaust survivors, and
called Kavod,
and they're living below the poverty line. And so look up Kavod and Pregelman. Just Google those two things, you'll find Kavod. There's like 1,000 Kavods. This one's about Holocaust, and that's why I'm bringing it up, because there's trauma like never before, probably in human history, around the Holocaust, and we forget that we're in the shadows. Like 75 years is not a long time. And so the wounds collectively, not just Jewish, it's human wounds, right? It's Jewish for sure. A third of the Jewish people were annihilated, but the world stood silent. There's trauma in that. There's trauma in the fact that it wasn't just Jews. It was people who were gay, people who were other, 1,000 tragedies. And so we're in the shadows of that. And the reaction, I can only really speak for the Jewish community, the reaction to the Holocaust, of this extreme reaction. And we lived in Israel for a while. And there's been this kind of reactive, right? Never again, we're not going to let this happen. And so this other extreme of like fight so hard to make sure that this never happens again. And you can feel these tensions in generations.
But what you can also feel, not just with Holocaust survivors, but with any generation, any person that has been through wounds, trauma is that you can feel the remnants of trauma, of PTSD, in a collective people, but also in your own family. If you think about the wounds and traumas that were passed down to your generation, to who you are. And I mean, I know personally, like I feel as if I have agreed in some way to stop some of the traumas and wounds that have occurred in my own family. And that's a big taking on, but that's how you find the equanimity, is to not react to the past generation, but to go forth, knowing that it is a part of you, it's a part of your history, and to go forth with that and use it for good. Absolutely. And use it to take action to rid yourself of the negative behaviors and move forward with learning from it and move forward.
Totally. And just to circle back, because this past week was Yom HaShoah, the Holocaust week memorial, and then this coming week is Yom HaZikaron, we remember these fallen Israeli soldiers. But for me, I'm very passionate about this idea of what Ariela just said, of becoming proactive, not reactive. And I believe that there's things to be proactive in the Holocaust. I wrote a blog, I talked about it this past week, about taking examples from the Holocaust, like Anne Frank, like Elie Wiesel, like Viktor Frankl, my hero, and teaching that these were individuals, men and women, who taught us the best of what the human spirit has to offer, not in spite of the Holocaust, not in spite of adversity and tragedy, but because of it. And so taking those messages and now inspiring ourselves and our families and our communities. And so it isn't about making the past ugly and dark and off limits, whether it's collective or personal, right? But it's about having the courage to go into that darkness. And that to me is the shift, where you're no longer reactive. It's off limits. We don't go there. It's a closet. We shut the door.
Right.
But now we can open it, and we have the equanimity, the calm, the center to be able to go into it and to deal with the ugliness, but to find the beauty from it, Tiferet. And that's beauty. That's Tiferet. That's a synthesis of everything we're talking about.
I was just going to say, to end, I was going to say that is another form of Tiferet, is beauty. And when you were talking, it just hit me. Like as I was studying this week, I couldn't figure out what equanimity and balance had to do with beauty. Like it just, I understand it from a mind place, but I couldn't quite grasp it. And really, that's beauty. That's the beautiful part of being open and aware. When you can hold both pieces of a people, of a generation, and of yourself, when you can hold the light, the dark, and everything in between, and you can find the synthesis between all of those, it's beautiful. That's our purpose here on this earth.
And so that's Yisrael, that's Jacob. He represents Tiferet. That's Yisrael, again, Israel, struggle with God, but it also means Yashar El, straight to God. And so if you're willing to embrace the struggle, to hold the tensions, to not live in this either or binary world, either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, either you're with us or you're against us, right? And hold the tension and be able to live with that tension and find your center, your balance within the tension, as opposed to making one right and one wrong. And that is a pathway straight to divinity. And that's beautiful.
It is.
And so with that, we will conclude our service. Yes, Amy, yes. And we'll just take a moment. We've already done a little bit of a healing guided meditation, so we'll just kind of minimize and do a focus on the prayer for healing. Again, to hold our joy amidst other people's pain. That's, I counsel people all the time that you giving up your light doesn't bring other people darkness. Doesn't bring other people light in their darkness. You holding your light brings other people light in their darkness. So holding our light as we send it out to the world, anybody and everybody who's in need of light in a time of darkness.
So we invite you to put the name of people or a person that you would like to pray for, and remembering as you close your eyes or as you write in the chat that prayers are real, that energy is real, and that you have the power to send your love to somebody, from someone sitting next to you to far away. And this is the power of cultivating a prayer awareness and a practice of meditation, of asking, of just opening the lines of communication and the channels to the divine, to the angels, to the guides. We just ask and pray for healing for the entire world. We ask and pray for healing for those that are suffering from the coronavirus and many, many, many other things. And we just send our energy and our prayers, and we send those angels out as God's messengers to all that need love and healing and prayer. And this is a beautiful song by Shir Yaakov. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of their wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know where they are. Healer of the broken-hearted, binder of our wounds, counter of uncountable stars, you know who we are. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ana refana Ana refana Hallelujah, hallelujah. Ana refana.
Sending our love and our prayers to Todd Elverson and his family, and to all of those whom you're reflecting, meditating on right now, and to all of you. We all, at some level, need light from others, energy from others, and so we send our love and our prayers to you as well. And so we never conclude a experience without remembering those who came before us, those whose light continues to shine on. I'm teaching right now the Kabbalah Xperience online about the soul's journey from this world to the next world, and the next world back to this world again. And so really just remembering that that our loved ones are always around us and with us and in us and there for us to draw upon, and really bring down that energy into our lives to feel their light at any time in our lives. And so continuing to send our love and our prayers out to Jared, Jennifer, and Linda on their journey of healing. Susan, just got that. And now we'll again shift, and whomever you'd like to say a memorial prayer for, to remember, this is your opportunity as well.
Yikara ve'yikadash Shem Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'amei Amaya Yikara ve'yikadash Shem Rabba Yehi Shemei Rabba Mevorach Le'olam U'amei Amaya. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. May the one within and above bless us with your love. May the source of infinite light guide us in our life. Shalom, 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 shalom. 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 Shalom.
How about before we tune off? Actually, we're doing yoga after this.
We're doing yoga after this.
She's got an amazing surprise for you. Amazing.
You have to watch the yoga class.
You'll see. And you'll know. And you go, that is amazing. So, so how about instead, before we jump off, since it's virtual and we're not keeping you from anything, because you just tune out right now, but hopefully you won't. We just tell you a little bit about what we're up to, some of the projects, some of the directions. Randy, my brother, and Reverend Randy's on. So we'll just share with you some of the things we're working on. Ariela, you want to tell us?
Sure. So I am the creator of the Divine Body Wisdom Program, and I help midlife women just really connect to their divine body wisdom through physical, emotional, and spiritual healing. I offer intuitive guidance, energy healing, and healing visualizations that elicit emotional response, because really the emotions in the body are the first defense, or they're on the front line in terms of the pathway to spirit. The pathway to your soul is almost always through body and emotions. So I really help midlife women get there. And stay tuned this Monday night, I don't know the date, April 27th, I believe, at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I am offering a Facebook Live webinar on how to unleash your love. So it's Love Unleashed. And it is for any midlife woman that has always struggled with the connection to their bodies, whether it's weight, symptoms that you're having, that you've had, or whether it's just holding a lot of emotions and your whole life inside of your body and feeling that perhaps your body has betrayed you, that you haven't felt a connection maybe ever. So you're going to hear my story and my story of disembodiment and how I came back to embodied living. And also, again, the pathway to spirit, the pathway to our soul is through the body. So we're going to explore those things with the intention of hoping that you will sign up for a private group for spiritual midlife women to unleash and really unleash your body and unleash your love and transform your life. So that will be coming up in May. So this is a little teaser. So I hope you join us on Monday night.
A lot of good stuff going on. We are...
This is private.
Go
ahead.
A little personal conversation going on. So I support midlife women and they're unleashed. So,
especially he supports the hormonal perimenopausal midlife woman.
I'm all in.
He's so supportive.
I'm all in. And so I don't work in that modality exactly, though a lot of our clients are the same. And I have a few different groups I'm really building out and developing. One is this idea of outrageous faith. I'm really passionate about the term outrageous, but the idea, right, that we can let our rage out as a pathway to faith. And I don't just mean rage as in anger and brokenness and that is part of it, but just this primal desire that we all have that's bottled up oftentimes, and religion on the one extreme, or kind of New Ageism on the other extreme, tend to what we call bypass the raw, real emotions, feelings. And I'm tired of like having to color in the lines in both coloring books. To me, it's like time to tear up the coloring books and to go into that place of outrageous faith. And so what does that mean? Creating a context for it, drawing upon ancient examples of this. You know, I'm a passionate believer in the Bible as blueprints for outrageous faith. These were outrageous people doing outrageous things, living outrageous lives. Let's get outside the lines and be real and raw about these examples so that we can open up our own lives. So it's really a meeting ground for anybody from any tradition to have these conversations and to experience all of life. And that leads into, another group I'm doing, which is called Warrior Jew, which is Jewish men in particular. It's not only for Jewish men, that's who's gravitating towards it. Kind of the equivalent of the women that Ariela are talking about, their husbands oftentimes, and really opening up this conversation for them, because I feel like for so long it's been, kind of a pent-up conversation waiting to happen. So those are just two areas that we're exploring. But all of this happens at Soul Centered, and we have different pathways in, and I guess that's where we'll end, is that there's no one pathway to find your soul centered. For some, it's going to come through healing. For some, it's going to come through loss and grief work that I do. For some, it comes through meaning. I'm also doing a lot around Viktor Frankl, logotherapy, meaning-centered therapies. So again, however you find your pathway in, we just want to make sure that there are many choices and pathways for you to find your way into centering your soul.
Okay.
And with that, we're going to head into yoga. You just have to stick around because it's going to be awesome. So,
we're going to end with Love Is All There Is.
Love is all there is. And then we will be back probably in about 5 minutes to the Facebook page or the Facebook group.
Yai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love, love is all there is. Love is all there is. Love is all there is. Yai, yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai. Yai, dai, 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 dai.
Love is all there is until yoga, and that's next.
Shabbat shalom. Namaste. Have a wonderful week.